In the moments between life and death, there exists a thin veil, fragile and shimmering, like the fragile gossamer threads spun by a spider in the early morning light. We pass through this veil, some without notice, others with a jolt that shakes the very core of our being. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, known as the Bardo Thodol, stands as a guide, an ancient wisdom that maps the unknown territories of the soul's journey after the body ceases to breathe. It is a map not of places, but of experiences, one that speaks in riddles and symbols, offering a path for the spirit to traverse once it has left the confines of the physical world. When death arrives, it is not the end, but the beginning of something else. The body, though it may lie still and cold, no longer holds the essence of the person who once inhabited it. The Bardo, the intermediate state between death and rebirth, stretches out before the soul, vast and mysterious. It is a space of uncertainty, where the familiar world slips away and everything becomes a reflection of the mind itself. The book is not a manual for the living, but a guide for those who are transitioning through this state, trying to find their way through the labyrinth of their consciousness. It is a map for the soul in the moments when it is neither here nor there, but suspended, lost in the folds of time. To die is not to be torn from life violently, but to slip gently from one state into another. The moment of death, though seemingly abrupt, is but a transition, much like the fading of day into night. The soul, as it departs, is met with a profound silence. It is not the silence of absence, but the silence of pure presence. The external world, once filled with noise, fades away, and in this fading, the inner world of the dying being begins to emerge. The book speaks of this moment with delicate reverence, describing it as a threshold where the soul may encounter its first real awakening. The Bardo state is described as a place of great clarity and confusion, where the mind is suddenly free of its earthly burdens, but not yet fully enlightened. It is here that the true nature of the mind begins to reveal itself. At this point, the dying soul must confront its past, its attachments, and its fears, all of which arise like spectral figures, each one attempting to guide or mislead the newly departed. But there is no escape from the self. The book makes it clear: the mind is the true master of the soul's journey. In these first moments after death, the soul may witness its own reflections, the shadows of its life, both the light and the dark. It is as if one is seeing their own existence from the outside for the very first time, witnessing their actions, thoughts, and deeds in a vast, panoramic view. As the soul drifts deeper into the Bardo, it begins to encounter what the Tibetan teachings call the lights. These are not the lights of the physical world, but lights born from the very nature of the mind itself. The book speaks of these lights as vast, radiant phenomena that can appear in many forms, gentle and welcoming, or intense and blinding. It is said that these lights are reflections of the mind's own inherent clarity, and they hold the key to liberation. The lights are not simply to be seen, but to be understood. For each light carries a teaching, a reminder of the soul's true nature. Some of these lights will seem familiar, as though they are beckoning the soul back to something known, while others will seem alien and unfamiliar, pulling the soul into the unknown. But in each light is a choice, whether to accept its radiance and be drawn closer to enlightenment or to turn away, consumed by fear or doubt. The book warns that the soul, now free from the chains of the physical body, may become overwhelmed by the brilliance of these lights. The ego, that stubborn part of the self that clings to the familiar, may try to resist the pure clarity of the light, thinking it dangerous or terrifying. And so the soul may wander, lost in the bright chaos of its own mind. The guidance of the book is to recognize the lights for what they are: manifestations of the self, guides to liberation, not obstacles to fear. As the soul moves deeper into the Bardo, the illusions grow stronger. These illusions, birthed from the mind's attachment to the physical world, begin to take on a life of their own. The book describes them as appearances that seem real, but are in fact projections of the mind, shaped by its desires, fears, and unresolved emotions. They are not to be feared but understood, for they are born from the very fabric of the soul. In this realm, the soul is faced with a series of challenges: visions of past lives, figures from one's past, even gods and demons. each of which carries the potential to confuse or enlighten. The illusion is that these figures are real, that they hold some power over the soul. The book advises the soul to recognize that all of these appearances are merely reflections of the mind, and the true task is not to fight them, but to see through them. The illusions of the Bardo are not simply images, but emotions and thoughts that arise from deep within. The soul may find itself in the presence of loved ones, seeing faces from its past, or witnessing the consequences of its own actions. These visions are not meant to punish, but to offer insight, to show the soul the truths it has long hidden from itself. The Bardo is a mirror, and the reflections that emerge from its depths are not separate from the soul. They are part of it, each one an opportunity for growth and liberation. The final stage of the Bardo is that of rebirth. Just as death is not an end, neither is it a permanent state of limbo. The soul, after having navigated the labyrinth of its own consciousness, comes to a point where it must choose its next step. The book speaks of this moment with a sense of urgency and clarity. The soul must decide where to go next, and its choices will shape the cycle of rebirth. This is the most delicate moment, for the soul may choose to return to the physical realm, to be reborn in a new form, or it may choose to transcend the cycle altogether, to break free from the endless loop of birth, death, and rebirth. The Bardo is a time of ultimate decision, where the soul must confront the results of its past actions and decide what it will become. The choice is not a simple one, for the soul may still be weighed down by attachments, desires, and fears. The pull of the familiar, the longing for comfort and security, may draw the soul back to the cycle of existence. But the book offers a path, a way to transcend the endless cycle of life and death, to reach a state of pure liberation. It is a difficult journey, but one that is possible for those who can see through the illusions of the Bardo and choose the path of enlightenment. In the end, the Bardo is not a place, but a state of mind. It is the very nature of consciousness itself, in all its fleeting beauty and terrifying complexity. The Tibetan Book of the Dead does not promise an easy journey, but it offers a guide for those who are willing to face the unknown. For in the end, the soul is not separate from the world. It is the world, and the world is the soul. And so as the soul passes through the final stages of the Bardo, it awakens to the truth that death is not the end, but a transformation, a rebirth. The journey of the soul is not one of finality, but of continual change, growth, and awakening. The book, with its wisdom and compassion, is not a set of instructions, but an invitation to understand the deepest truths of existence. It speaks not only of what happens after death, but of what happens when we truly awaken to the nature of life itself.